control them, and then we had the suicide there, and it was a tragedy. And I was asked at a board of inquiry whether or not the numbers and management of that JPSU unit, subunit, had anything to do with it, and it's an unconfirmed yes. The amount of people that they're trying to post to this unit without properly staffing and financing that unit is just deplorable. To me, it's almost a criminal act. I gave up 27 years in the regular force to join the JPSU. At the end of it, 31 years, I resigned in protest from the Canadian Forces completely because of the JPSU. It's that important to me. I think it's that important to Canadians. And I think we should all be taking a vested interest in this because this unit touches all of us. It's not just for serving, it's for retired ill and injured members and their families as well. So we all have a stake in it. Even if you've got a cousin or a niece or a nephew in the Canadian Forces, this is your unit, and it's something that we should really be backing. So with that, I hope that you take an interest in it. I've been posting things on a blog called Veteran Watch Blog, and it goes into detail with factual information of what's going on in that unit and the changes that have to be done and should have been done years ago. And I understand there's words going around that everything's fine in that unit. That's a lie. I want to tell you that right now. I hear from people up until last weekend who are suffering in the darkness and the shadows, looking for help. And now I'm doing it as a civilian, what I couldn't do in the military, and that is try to get this unit the assistance it needs. And with that, thanks. Mike?
Good morning. My name is Michael Blaze. I'm the president and founder of the Canadian Veterans Advocacy. As you've heard today, there are many issues confronting veterans throughout Canada today, both from the Afghanistan war, peacekeeping, and Korea. They're not restricted to mental issues. Many are physical injuries that have yet to be addressed in the comprehensive manner that Veterans Affairs Canada is supposed to provide. Today I would speak of a sacred obligation, an obligation not limited to those that we elect to Parliament, an obligation that every Canadian has to those that we send to war. We're approaching Remembrance Day. As the moment approaches, we think of those of the fallen, but we also remember the living who have suffered the consequences of war and peace, who are suffering from complex mental health issues, who are suffering from complex physical issues. And at this time, I would ask all Canadians, during your travels this week, when you see a man with medals, when you see a man with serving in uniform, approach that man and thank him for his service. Just say, thank you for your service, because the nation's somewhat adrift. We've lost the war in Afghanistan, or we have not come to a conclusion that we had hoped for, and the government no longer speaks to the war or to those who have suffered the consequences therein. We as a nation must rally. We as a nation must rally behind the wounded and those who have served, for they have served in our name, and it's our responsibility to take care of them when they return to our communities. So this Remembrance Day, when you see a veteran, when you see a serving man, step up, go forward, shake the man's hand, shake the woman's hand, look him in the eye, and say, thank you for your service. Thank you.
There's a lot of issues that one can talk about, and we brought about in the House of Commons the closing of the vac centers that would leave 26,788 men and women without a case officer. They might have to travel in some instances up to 1 hour, 2 hours. And if you're in Cape Breton, and especially in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and you have to go to Halifax, that's a 6-hour drive. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of things that we need to do. The NVC was supposed to be a living charter. We're supposed to be discussing it. What did the government do? It prorogued the House, and when we came back, the minister's been forced to do that. However, I've got something here which is of interest to everybody. In order for a veteran or a member of the forces to apply for any sort of pension, the most important thing that that veteran needs is their medical file. I can understand if one box of medical file goes missing. I can understand if 2 boxes get displaced. I can understand maybe that's been 100 years old. The minister orders a couple of boxes to be destroyed. I cannot understand, however, and I will read straight from the email that says, "Good afternoon, Bernard. Library and Archives of Canada, LAC, is currently storing for Veteran Affairs Canada 27,381 boxes of patient files for former veterans hospitals." And it goes on, and this is the key point. It is important in our negotiations with LAC that we proceed with the destructions of these files ASAP. So my question to the minister is the following. Minister, is there anybody in those files that needs that file? Minister, if that person that you have destroyed the files for, have you advised him or her that you've destroyed the files? Minister, before you went ahead and you destroyed 27,381 boxes with an average of 3, 4, or 5, or 10 members of the forces in that box, you can go anywhere up from 100,000 to 200,000 plus. Did your department do due diligence? And if, Minister, you can guarantee me that no member of the forces has been affected, I will prove to you that they have. I will prove to you that you right now have a court case in the Supreme Court of Canada of an individual that was affected with this, of an individual whose life you did not honor. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask of you, please, and I join with my colleagues, when you see a vet, thank him for their services. If you hear of a vet suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder, as I did last weekend when I was out in Vancouver, and this vet was homeless, and the only place that he had was a facility, and this facility was not a government-run, was not a federal government facility. That vet said to me, I'm homeless. I have nowhere to go. The thing that is holding the top part of my body to the bottom part of my body are 2 pins and a pin behind me. That's what our veterans go through. And I'm going to close by saying to you, a veteran wrote to me a little while ago and said, we're proud of serving our country. We're proud of going abroad. And we're proud about hanging and watching with every word when the O Canada sung the Canadian flag. In driving in this morning, I'll tell you, Mike said to me about the Canadian flag, and I could see his eyes, and I can see him, tears in his eyes. They bled for our country. They didn't say no, sir. They didn't say no, ma'am. They went out there and they did it. And it was not a 9-to-5 job. And it was not a job that they said, this is dangerous, I won't do it. They didn't ask questions. They didn't say no. They just jumped in with both feet and they delivered. Why are we letting them down? Minister, why are 27,381 boxes of medical records being destroyed? There's going to be a lot coming. But the fight does not end on November the 11th. It is not over on November the 11th. These veterans, the people that have served us, the people that have stood on guard at post, not only in Canada, but around the world, the people that have gone out with DART, they are the ones that we have to thank them, not only this week, but every week. Thank you.
For current serving members? Like my understanding, like are these for people who may yet require access to these documents, or
Yes,
are
sir.
they
Yes, sir.
for instance, deceased veterans from the First World War?
There's
Or
veterans that I know of that require access to those files. One of them being Kenneth Young of Nanaimo.
or just a different file that
He
was
needs
lost in a
his
different
files, and his files were destroyed in that lab right there. Kenneth Young, and he lives out in Nanaimo, and he's taken the federal court to the Supreme Court of Canada. He would be 60s. There's another fellow, Mike Cole, which is in the same boat. Mike Cole was he was a pilot that was up on the hill here a couple of weeks ago, and he traveled across Canada raising the issue of Equitas and the court case that the government has appealed. Shame on the minister. You should let that go through. And he is also missing his files. There's another individual by the name.
information about that set of documents that details what class of veteran or what period
No.
of time or
No,
anything
I
like
don't.
that?
That's why I'm asking the minister if he can prove to us that he's notified everybody, if he can prove to us that there's no veterans that need those records. I know of 3 veterans that need those records. So
Been destroyed yet, hey?
they have been destroyed, sir. They've been destroyed, and the destruction was done in November 16th, 2009. And it says, important in our negotiations with LAC that we proceed with the destruction of these files ASAP. I have attached a complete listing of 103 accessions totaling 27,381 boxes of records. And this is on website and will be sent out to this morning.
Thanks.
Thank you.